deemed an imminent threat to human life. The federal shutdown is fouling up some state and local cleanup efforts too. For example, volunteers ready to pick up trash on sandbars and islands along 39 miles of the Missouri River in northeast Nebraska were told to stand down when they lost the use of federal boats. The Labor Department delayed its monthly count of how many people are looking for work, which was due Friday and highly anticipated by stock traders. The Agriculture Department stopped cranking out tallies of livestock auctions and crop yields, which are vital numbers for farmers and buyers. The Centers for Disease Control isn't tracking the nation's flu cases, just as the season is just getting started. These are all things due to the Republicans trying to circumvent due process and defeat the Affordable Care Act. These are all direct implications. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are entirely responsible for this. The Democrats are as equally guilty. But you know who's really guilty? You and me. You and me for not encouraging more people to get out and vote and express their opinions at their polling place. That's what the real issue is here. You know, I think the Republicans are 98% responsible for it. But the rest of the blame belongs on you and me. What I'm saying is, we have roughly 30 to 40% of the population of this country that expresses their political opinion through voting, while the other 70 to 60% chooses to sit on the sidelines and still complain. You know, for a long time, I believed that if you didn't express your right to vote, you still had a voice. But now I'm becoming more and more convinced that, you know, since you didn't participate, you have no reason to complain. Well, you have reason to complain, but I don't think it's as justified. I don't think your voice means as much. And the problem is, the people that are really on the anti-government side of the situation are the ones who don't vote and who will probably never participate. Now, I'm not saying you have to, but I think if you really want legitimate change in your government, you have to get involved. And part of that involvement is through debate. That's the reason why I bring up things on Facebook. That's why I bring up things on this program. To encourage people to think. Not to preach to their respective political choirs. Okay? Yes, I admit I'm a liberal. And I'm an atheist, and I cater to that crowd. And I'm trying to get more people to think along my lines. Trust me, I was the direct opposite 10, 20, 30 years ago. There were stages in my life that if I were to meet the person that I am today, would have scared the hell out of me. But through time, through experience, your views get altered. You see things differently as you get older. And as I've gotten older, I've become extremely liberal. And I'll probably become more liberal through time. I don't see myself swinging back. Part of the reason why I'm such a strong proponent of the Affordable Care Act is because I believe it makes things equal for everyone, to give everyone a more equal chance at having a healthy life. Now, I'm not opposed to the capitalist system. I'm trying to start a business here. And I tell you, trying to start a business like what I'm doing, without much capital, purely coming out of my pocket, it's really hard to do. And this is uncharted territory. You know, 20, 30 years ago, this would have been pirate radio at best. But now it's all different. You know, I'm not FCC regulated, so I don't have to worry about that part. But, so I am a firm believer of capitalism. But I'm also in favor of making things equal. One of the reasons why is because if more people are healthy, they're less likely to commit crimes. And I'm talking about mental health and physical health, emotional health. All of that intertwines. And I've seen the negative side of drug addiction. I've seen people down at their worst, people that I love and care about at their very worst, wondering if they're going to live even through the night because they're so hopped up on the drug of choice that day. They're trying to escape some pain that occurred long before I was even born. I've seen that numerous times, and I've had my own share of pain. So, to me, it only makes sense to try to equalize all of this, to at least give people an equal footing. Well, getting back to this story, the staff of 80 that normally analyze foodborne pathogens sent by states has been furloughed down to 2. That's a significant reduction. That's from 80 to 2. Can you imagine that kind of a workload? That is insane. They are concentrating on looking for biggies such as possible salmonella, E. coli, or listeria outbreaks. Other germs, like Shigella, go ignored for now. Now, I confess that if this government shutdown had affected the USDA service inspectors that go through meat, poultry, and egg processing plants, like in the line of work that I'm in, there has to be a USDA inspector there to check the pork, to make sure that the product is clean, that the packaging is clean and all that, and that we're following those guidelines. Now, at the risk of giving away company secrets, my company that I work for sets its standards slightly above federal standards in many areas, just to ensure that our product is always safe. Okay? And it works. But you still need the government watchdog in there. For one, it's government law, federal law. And two, your tax dollars are going to protect your food. Now, there are people out there saying we don't need that. Do you really want to go back to the days of when food and drugs and so forth, medications were not regulated, that there wasn't a watchdog saying, this plant has a potential for contamination. Oh, well, let's just ignore it, see what happens. That's what a lot of people seem to be wanting. And that's the same thing with the Affordable Care Act, in my view. That, it's up to you if you want to participate in a healthier lifestyle. And I realize that I'm not crazy about the mandate of the new federal health insurance plan, the Affordable Care Act. But I think in the long run, it will benefit everybody. It will protect your assets in the event that you go to the hospital, because chances are you live long enough, you're going to need medical care of some kind. All right? If I didn't have health insurance 3 years ago, I would probably still paying off a $22,000 hospital bill on top of an ambulance bill through no fault of my own. So there's a chance that I would have lost my 401k, my other investments, and I probably wouldn't be here right now talking to you through a computer in my living room. I would probably be out working somewhere, wondering how I'm going to pay the next bill. That's not to say life is easier now, but health insurance has made my life easier. When my insurance company paid all but $2,000 of it, I'm grateful to have it. And you bet your butt that I'm not going to let it go. But if you're willing to take that kind of a risk, but it only makes sense to. But all people are seeing is the expense. But there's a greater expense if you don't have this insurance. And the problem is the Obama administration really hasn't adequately instilled that into people, that the mandatory part is there to protect your assets. Now, they have said it, but the problem is there's so much misinformation out there that a lot of people are like, well, that's just a big brother breathing down our necks, and we don't want this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm sorry, but, since I drive a car, I don't like to pay for car insurance either, but you have to have it. It only makes sense to have it. Now, I realize not everyone drives a car, but the majority of adults do drive cars at some point in their life. And to me, this is just, I realize it's another expense, but most of us that go to the hospital anyway have insurance. But this is to get the freeloaders off the system, to help them pay for their own way. Yes, some of it will be through government subsidies, but you know what? It will save you money in the long run. but this is just my opinion, okay? Now, getting back to this story, let's see here. I hate unlocking this every time. Timber will wait to be felled if the shutdown lasts much longer, since the Forest Service is starting the shutdown of logging operations this week. IRS refunds and farm subsidy checks are backing up. The future is on hold for some immigrants because hearings that could lead to their deportation have been postponed. The somber work of federal safety investigators has come to a standstill. In California, the wreckage of a private jet that crashed into a hangar at Santa Monica Airport, killing 4 people, is being preserved off-site for National Transportation Safety Board investigators who packed up and left when the shutdown began last Tuesday. Almost all of the board's 400 employees were furloughed, according to NTSB spokeswoman Kelly Nantle. Investigators examining a train collision in Chicago were kept on the job, however, because of urgent safety concerns raised by that accident. Compared with what furloughed federal workers must deal with, the Eagle in her freezer is just an inconvenience, Pencil president of the Bless the Beast Foundation said on Friday. However, a bigger worry for her is what will happen to wounded eagles and ospreys in the nearby Iroquois National Wildlife Refuge while the shutdown keeps hunters and birdwatchers out. Without people there, Pencil said of the birds, if they get injured, nobody's going to find them. And I imagine some of you out there are saying, so what? It's just more wildlife. But, that wildlife is vital to all of us. We're all in this big circle together. And when part of the ecosystem goes down, yes, it compensates and adjusts. But if it gets to us, we're in trouble. Okay? Let's see here. What else do we have? Other things I want to talk about. Shutdown spawns vacuum in farm market information. When Tim Peterson finished planting his 900 acres of winter wheat last week, the usually market-savvy Kansas farmer unexpectedly found himself struggling to make critical marketing decisions without being able to access vital ag reports, casualties of the federal government shutdown. So this is affecting farmers now. It's affecting everybody, which comes back and affects you and me, because our food comes from farms. Okay? Typically, Peterson protects his investment in seed and fertilizer by locking in the price his wheat crop will fetch next July with a futures contract that shields farmers from market fluctuations by guaranteeing a price while the crop is in the ground. So in other words, price may be good today, but tomorrow it may drop, say, a couple of bucks, and it keeps going down. Mr. Peterson doesn't know what the price is. It's like sailing a boat hoping you're going north when you might be going east. Okay? Farmers and livestock producers use these reports put out by the National Agriculture Statistics Service, NASS, to make decisions such as how to price crops, which commodities to grow, and when to sell them, as well as track cattle auction prices. Not only has the NASS stopped putting out new reports about supply and demand, exports, and prices, but all websites with past information have been taken down. Another casualty of the federal government unable to get over their pissing contest and do what they're supposed to be doing, which is serving the needs of the people that they were voted on, or voted by, or who voted for them in office in the first place. Just another prime example of what's going on in here in the heartland. Okay? I mean, I could go on and on about these details, friends. And I still have a few more examples I'd like to pull up here. So just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me. This is my soapbox, and I'll cry if I want to, okay? Let's see here. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up that I saw in here concerning this. And speaking of the government shutdown, there is a lot of blame going around in the government shutdown. But if one person deserves more culpability than all others, that person is Matt Bevin. And he's not even a member of Congress or an administration official. He lives in Louisville, runs a family business that makes bells. But he's played a pivotal role in the shutdown by sidelining Mitch McConnell